Hello, everybody out there in comic book land, and welcome to a brand new episode of Major Discourse, where we talk to the people in the comic book industry and see what makes them tick. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and I am here, as always, with a member of the CBC team. This week, I'm here with the fantastic Frank. Frank, tell the people what's up.
What's up? Feeling pretty savage tonight.
Yes, we're about to have a savage conversation, bro. I'm super excited, super stoked for all the things we're here to talk about. But, you know, I've got to introduce our guest, the person that we have here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the mastermind with the right mindset, the immortal killer who writes an excellent thriller, Rose Guntree's corner man who can look right through your poker face, the secret CEO of Solarity, and the man familiar with some savagery, the incomparable Zack Kaplan. Zack, how the heck are you?
I'm good, thank you. That was some deep cuts in that intro there. Some Eclipse cuts. I appreciate that.
Hey, man. I'm a pro wrestling fan. I feel like everyone deserves a good intro, you know? Good.
If I could only walk in. What
would be your song?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Come back.
I'll work on that. I'll work on that.
We can fix it in post.
There you go. Yeah, well,
I'll play it right now, and then I don't.
There you go. Zack, only the savage are left is the talk of the town. So congratulations. I know the reception has been really, really great for this book. What pulled me in was I felt like you were kind of exploring this idea of romanticized civility. This idea that we pretend to be more civilized than we actually are. And I've always viewed the peak of civilization or a civilized society is how it treats everyone else, the people who kind of fall through the cracks. And this book also deals a lot with the othering of humanity, right? Because there's the infected and there's everybody else. What was it about these sort of themes that pulled you into writing something like that? Are you pulling from your own worldview for this story about whether or not we must become monsters to defeat them?
Yeah, great. I mean, it's a great question. And I think the story does kind of look at how we perceive ourselves as a society versus how we maybe truly are. And I think there is a disconnect between some of the talk and some of the walk. I think we've all felt it for a long time, but I like to write stories that kind of say, hey, I know we're all like tolerating and almost ignoring this aspect of life, but has anybody else thought this is a little, odd or crazy or driving one else mad? And so, yeah, it absolutely comes from a place where, especially I think in the last 10, 15 years, I felt even more and more like the way we perceive ourselves as a society who looks out for each other maybe doesn't line up with the amount of savagery and the amount of animosity that we treat one another with. So yeah, I think that was very much something that we wanted to explore in this story. And we wanted to kind of this is a post-apocalyptic monster story, and we've seen our fair share of those, but we wanted to give this kind of a modern approach. We wanted to make it feel like they're not just talking about any moment in time, they're talking about this moment in time. So yeah, I don't have the answers. I never have the answers. I'm never smart enough to be like, and here's what we need to do about this. Right. I don't know. This is just me kind of saying, is anybody else feeling that there's this romanticized civility, but maybe deep under the surface, we're all just looking out for ourselves, or at least a lot of people are. Yeah.
I feel like our generation is kind of seeing the unraveling of the stories we were told. You know, now in the information era, you can look all the stuff up of any sort of romanticized wars that we've been in or conquests that have been a part of this world. And so without even presenting, like you said, the answers, I think just by presenting the questions of how society can sometimes turn its eye to those who need us the most in an effort to present as, just a little bit better. We're okay. Everything's going fine. I think that's important. I think while comics serve as escapism, if we're not talking about what actually goes on, I always feel like comics are going to be in the what is it, time capsule,
Yeah.
right? Like if you want a taste of what's actually going on in society, read some of the comics that came out around that time, and you'll
Yeah.
see writers trying to tackle some of the themes that's going on in the world.
Well,
And I
I think
think,
what was interesting for this too was to frame it with younger protagonists, because I kind of looked at the zombie monster supernatural post-apocalyptic landscape, and we've seen Rick in Walking Dead, we've seen Joel in Last of Us, but I was like, those stories are always kind of done with a sense of like reflection and regret, like, oh man, look what we did, like that's a shame.
yeah,
And I felt like if you see it, how would a young person, like how would a like 21-year-old person feel in the monster apocalypse? Do they just give up so easily? Do they just go, oh man, what a shame? Or do they still kind of go, I got 50 years ahead of me, maybe I don't want to just regret and go, man, society
yeah,
had its moments. So I feel like it gives it a different flavor, which is, I think, also kind of part of the conversation, which is like, not only, hey, is anybody noticing that there's a breakdown and a kind of divide between what we say and how we act, but like, what's the next generation gonna do about it, and how does the next generation respond to a world of monsters? We have a world of monsters,
yeah.
and I'm already too old to do anything. I mean,
No,
I'm there
I get
ready to
it.
do whatever I need to do. But I always feel like it's the Gen Z, the next generation incoming. It's really like they're the ones with the opportunity to set it. And so this story follows a couple of young people, and it was really fun to kind of write the story with that kind of that approach.
Yeah, I feel like I think Gen Z gets a lot of crap because, like I said, we now live in an information age. They were the ones that got their bubbles popped the earliest.
Yes.
Every single thing that they see on the news, they can look up and get a different vantage point, get more truth from. And like
Yes.
the protagonists in this, they have quite literally inherited a sort of broken earth.
Yes.
And while the elites, and especially the older elites, pillage it because they know they don't have much time left,
Yeah.
the rest of them have to live in this. And I think that's why you're seeing such a seismic change, not to get too deep into politics and stuff like that, but you see a seismic change of how people are viewing collectivism and us all coming together, as
Yeah.
opposed to what I feel like has been kind of told to us from the beginning: we make more money apart.
I criticize every generation. Every generation deserves some shots, and I like to say here's the strengths and here's the weaknesses of every generation. So Gen Z is not perfect by any degree, but nonetheless, they're the ones that are up next. They're the millennials have already bought their houses and settled in, and they're already starting to be part of the system. So if not, they already are. So Gen Z is really the next in line for all their strengths and all their weaknesses, and it really is kind of saying, "Hey, here's the problem." And I like writing youth empowerment stories to kind of say, "Hey, you guys are up. What are you going to do about it? We're here. We want you guys to win. I want Gen Z to win."
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love nothing more that by the time I'm old age, that some of these things have been improved, and that we feel that things are going in the right direction. But I think there's no denying that we feel at this moment in time things are not going in the right direction. Things feel, and I think that the way we treat one another, and the amount of kind of our desensitization towards violence and towards self-interest and savagery is just so much. So definitely using all of that as a metaphor here, but then it's look, it's also just a kick-ass action adventure story. And we tried to populate it with Beautiful World by Stefano Raffaele and Diago Rocha, and just, interesting conflicts. It's a spin on a virus you can save yourself, which brings up all sorts of other moral quandaries. So, it's not, it's definitely, I'm glad you picked up on the subtle theme about like our society and stuff like that. I like to inject that kind of stuff into a story, but I like to give readers a lot when they come to it.
Yeah, I think one of your strengths, even going back to like Eclipse, is, and maybe this is just somebody, because I like to be creative, and so sometimes I can feel like I can sense creativity, and so like you seem to really jam on making worlds, on like setting up like boundaries, setting up rules, setting up the hierarchy of what goes on here, and
I
a
do. I
day in the
like,
life.
yes.
Can you
Yeah.
speak a bit about that?
But world development, yeah.
Yeah.
I love creating worlds.
Does that come from your screenwriting background?
I don't I don't think so. No. I think it's just something I gravitated towards when I began falling in love with stories. I just kind of loved stories that had new worlds. I mean, whether it's Aliens or Blade Runner or anything. I like interesting worlds, and I like to I a lot. You know, it's funny. Like when you're a writer, I just write the ideas and stories that come to me. But then when you look back,
Yeah.
I realize, and especially through interviews, I realize that I keep writing again and again about characters looking at a world gone mad and trying to
Yeah.
figure out what to do about it. And you can't have a world gone mad without a world. So I think I
That's
do
true.
like to create worlds and say, okay, this is a world where sunlight burns you alive. This is a world where aliens have come with a business deal. This is a world where there's a mind control app. I like to create the worlds, and you have to come up with the rules in order to see where the heroes or the characters are finding those boundaries and those limitations. The world building just gives you that framework to then start to explore moral quandaries and things like that. But I like to anytime I start a story to roll up my sleeves and say, okay, before we even talk about plot, you know, what is the world? But I actually, you know, and this is I guess a tip for all um, creators out there. I think I actually come up with the character and the theme first.
Okay.
You know, like there'll be an idea like, what if aliens came in a business deal? Or here, this is a story of what if there was a virus that turned you into monsters, but you could save yourself? What if you could save yourself? Okay, so there's this like, that's a premise. But
Yeah.
then deciding what the world looks like, it's like, okay, wait, before I even decide what the world is, what am I trying to say with the story? Like, what is the theme? What is the character? What is this story about? Is this you know, is this an anti-hero story? No, no, no. This is a moral story. This is a story about pacifism versus violence. So we have a young man. We should start with a pacifist and coming up with the story with what I want to say about him. Then I kind of design the world, you know, in tandem with that or around that, so that that story fits, because you could easily design a world that doesn't fit with
Yeah.
this the what you want to say. So, you know, I think here in Only the Savage Are Left, for example, it was very important to come up with a world that supported this story of morality and kind of this question of like, you know, what are we doing? What are we doing in a world like this? And what do you do when you could save yourself? And what do you do when you fall in love with someone who has very different worldviews and all sorts of these kinds of questions? Building the world out was part of building the story out.
I think that's an interesting approach, because I know I've heard you say in interviews that you're not really about larger than life characters. You're about larger than life worlds and regular characters kind of inhabiting
That's
that.
true. Yeah.
And I feel like with the worlds that you've created, not only do they have a personality that then allows you to play in them, like they feel realized, so then you just create characters that can just walk in them. But maybe as a reflection of the current world, some of these worlds are antagonistic. Some of these people are just trying
Absolutely.
to walk uphill, and the world just keeps being topsy turvy. Is that,
Absolutely.
yeah?
Yeah, I do. I like an antagonistic world, or I like a system. I mean, whether it's a system that is stacked against you or flawed, or, you know, Masterminds, for example, is a world where, you know, you can't get ahead by playing by the rules you were told would get you ahead. Uh, or Dark Empty Void is
Yeah.
you know, a cosmic horror where you come in and the rules are thrown out the windows, but inherently it's everything you thought about, you know, monsters coming out of a black hole turned upside down. So I like antagonistic stories like that. But yeah, I think then I don't have a lot of characters that are larger than life. I think a lot of my characters are any of us really. They're ordinary men and women. There's a couple exceptions in there. I mean, I guess Frey, Asvald in Kill All Immortals is a bit larger than life. But then again, of all the immortals that we encounter, she starts off as the most removed. You know, we
Yeah.
come to learn that there's been this constant battle between all these different immortals, and there are different immortal families and different immortals, and Frey is the least involved at the onset of the story. She's just trying to mind her own business and live her own life. So in a way, she isn't every woman, and then she gets pulled into all this and gets asked big questions like, well, what's your agency and what do you want to do? So I like kind of ordinary characters. I mean, Ryder and Oakland in Only the Savage Are Left, you know, they start off as two just kids in high school. They're as ordinary as they come, and they're thrust into this. So yeah, I don't like to write big characters. I like to write big worlds and little characters in them. Yeah.
No, I get that. I felt like this was the only reference I can go up with, but I felt like there was great chronicle energy to the beginning of
Oh yeah.
Mindset. I felt like in
Yes.
Mindset, because you take these young, relatively normal tech geeks and you hand them godlike power, and
Yeah.
instead of immediately trying to conquer the world, they just start doing like reckless stuff that
Yes.
any young group of people. Was it important for you to kind of show them in that light to be like just kind of playfully irresponsible, and then how that
Oh
eventually curves around?
yeah, absolutely. I think there's a great moment in any story when the character sets out on that journey, and those first steps, the most relatable you can make those first steps, uh I think, you know, make a story feel really grounded. And so, you know, these kids discover mind control, and what do? I think they're daring each other to eat bugs and you
Yeah.
know, hit walls and go down the stairs with shopping carts and stuff like that. And you just kind of go,
Yeah.
that's exactly what would happen. But it's so
No,
related. Like we
100%.
kind of go, I think we would all end up, if we were college kids or grad kids, we'd do that too. And Ryder's no different in Only the Savage Are Left. I mean, he goes on this big adventure. The first thing he does is just walks the road for half a day, you know? And then the next thing he does is he gets stopped by a couple of monsters and he barely survives it. You know, he can't shoot. He's falling
Yeah.
on his ass. This is not good.
God for that parking sign or that
Yeah,
crossing sign.
thank God he finds that crossing sign. So you're looking at this kid going like, you're not going to make it very far in this situation. And I feel like in any story, it's great to start off the characters just as messy and failing, because it gives them somewhere to go. So I do like to try to come up with that most relatable first step for sure. Yeah.
I think you do a great job
Thank
with
you.
it. In an effort
Thank you.
in an effort to not monopolize the conversation, Frank.
You're good. You're good.
I
All
get
right.
a little
So
long-winded.
now,
Well, now we got going.
so
It's all good. Yeah.
yeah, see, we're kind of bouncing around a little, so I'm just gonna spring to one of my things. You know, between George and me, we read a different number of your books. I didn't get to read Mindset, but I did read The Midnight Shadows,
Hmm.
which, you know, that was very Tron, which fits the band.
Yes.
Um, so I guess my question on this one, kind of tying back what we were talking about a minute ago. So, you know, you start off with the character, and then you make the world kind of around the character, almost like a supporting character or antagonist. But in this case, it was the band's story, wasn't it?
This is an interesting journey. So yeah, I did. If people listening are not familiar, the Midnight is one of the largest synthwave bands in the world, top five or
Okay.
so, and they're fantastic music. If you haven't heard them, really great music. I mean, synthwave. If you're not familiar with what synthwave is, it's kind of that music, that electronic music that you would hear in like '80s soundtracks, but it's evolved to be kind of a synthesized indie rock, and it can be really melodic and really deep and really interesting. It can rock, it can be soft, it can be dark. And the Midnight is a great band. I've known them for years and years, and since they started, and we kind of went back and forth, and they were interested in making a graphic novel, a comic book out of their music, as we had seen. But we didn't want to like just like so many of these adaptations with music, like they drop the band in the middle of something, or it's like, you know, like now they're there, here they are. Watch the two guys or watch the band go on a journey. You're kind of like, this feels off. So
midnight,
it was
the
like
midnight versus the werewolves or whatever.
yeah, the midnight. Yeah, they're fighting here they are, like with their rock guitars fighting. So we're like, all right, let's do something that's a reflection of your music. I had been a fan of their music and listened to the whole library many times. So I think for me, I sat down and kind of said, and I think I had a brief moment or interview where I talked to them and I just kind of asked them broadly what they wanted out of a story, more thematically, more like existentially than any plot, you know, just kind of like what kind of feeling and what kind of energy you want. And then I went back and I looked at all the kind of different themes and elements from their stories. And I came to them with this idea of kind of doing a spin on a Tron story, but instead of being sucked in, we actually find that the character is the character of the video game, or so he's told. He's sucked into his favorite video game, and he's told that he was actually the hero of the game, and he disappeared because he never finished the game, and now he has to come back and save it. But in this sort of like Peter Pan-esque story, we look at what it's like to have the responsibility of saving the world when you don't really want that responsibility. And then we mixed in all sorts of other themes about nostalgia and growing up and 80s, 90s computer culture. But I initially kind of came up with the first iteration of the story, and then I brought it to them, and we built it out together. I came and saw them at a studio, and we developed it, and they got to say, how about this and how about that, and we all built it very, very collaboratively. So I mean, they actually absolutely contributed to the story, but I think initially it was my job to come and bring them something that fit the world of their music. And very much we wanted that to feel another everyman story where people could relate, another story of a big antagonistic world. So very much the kinds of stories that I like to take. And I like to tell people, if you've never heard of The Midnight, it's just a great sci-fi adventure with a lot of heart. So yeah, it was a very fun, interesting experience for sure. But I approached it very similar to a lot of other stories. There was just this kind of framework to build on with all their music.
It was a very fun story. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It was gorgeous too. Oh my God. The artist, Stephen Thompson. Got so many. Stephen Thompson, Stephen Thompson did the Masterminds series with me, which we just concluded. Man, he's a detail fanatic, and he created such a great cyberpunk sort of world. So if you like cyberpunk kind of stuff at all, you'd love The Midnight.
The colors are what blew me away.
Yeah, Thiago Rocha.
Really
Thiago Rocha is an amazing colorist, and he just nails it. I use Thiago on so much of my. He does, and I mean, talk about versatility. This colorist, he does the Midnight Shadow, which is cyberpunk. It's all like cyans and pinks and purples. Then he goes on to do Kill All Immortals, which is like, a mix of like modern luxury looks and then these brilliant action sequences. Does lots of blood. Mastermind. He does Masterminds, and now he does Only the Savage Are Left. So very versatile colorist. Really, really incredible.
Wow, I'll say.
Yeah.
Was there a big intimidation factor writing something for someone you were a fan of?
For The Midnight?
Yeah.
A little.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to disappoint them. Like,
right.
When I take on my own stuff, I can disappoint myself. It's like, hope they like this, but they did, and they were very open. They trusted in me, and they gave me and my team, the creative team, a chance to do what we do best. They were the best kind of collaborators. They weighed in, and they made it easy for us to go to them with questions, and we say, hey, this character, should it be this? Should we go this way with this character, this way with this character? But they weren't like, okay, here's what we think, like yeah. It was very collaborative in the best of ways. They gave us just enough playground to do everything we wanted to do, and they were present just enough to help guide us to make it fit for what they do in all of their work. So yeah.
Awesome. I'd also add that synthwave goes great with your books, by the way. Like a lot of these books.
I'm sure that's true.
Yeah,
I write 2/3 of it to synthwave. I listen to a lot of synthwave. Okay. And then and a lot of movie scores. I'll listen to a lot of movie scores when I write. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like mindset for me hit so hard because we live in a world where everyone is practically begging to be influenced, right? When you were building that story, was there like a specific aha moment where you realized that humans need to be either in control or controlled by something?
I think it was I first conceived the mindset around 21.
Okay.
And this was when we found out, and then the book came out. When did the book come out? 24? Did the book come out 24?
24, yeah.
Oh, then it was closer to 22. 22 that I would have come up with that. But this was right around the time where we started to talk about algorithms. The algorithms,
yes,
I don't know if you remember this. Now we're all like, it's all out. This is all secondhand to us. But there was a time where we were first learning that the tech companies were using algorithms to study how we scroll and to curate different information to us depending on what we like and didn't like. There was a moment in time where as a collective group, we all started to learn this over a period of like a year. And we all kind of went, okay. And I thought that was so absurdly hilarious that like in a movie, in the 90s, if you wrote that in a movie, it would have been like the biggest evil villain plot in the world. We would have been like, what? A tech company is controlling they control what you see, when you see it, and they make you want to come back for more. And our response was like, okay. So I just thought that was so absurd. And it was like that sort of like, and you'd be like, I know I'm doom scrolling. I know I'm like suddenly up and my wife and I were going to bed and we're just doom scrolling. We're not talking to each other, but that's okay. And it's wait a minute. We all suddenly have our phones out at meals and in the middle of talking in a conversation. We're just like, hold on. Yeah. I'm just doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm just stopped talking to you to doom scroll. And it's crazy. It is crazy. And we all just laugh off that we are getting cooked alive. So clearly we all need to be controlled in some way. I mean, this is like going back to like 1950s, Madison Avenue discoveries where, wait a minute, we can use psychology in advertising. Like at its core, we are so highly influenced and easy to manipulate that even when they figure out how to just completely dominate us with technology, we're just like, yeah, no big deal. So that was for me if I'm going to write a story about mind control going into an app, it's got to have a level of satire and absurdity to it where we're pointing out to everybody, we're all being mind controlled, right? And we're all just kind of ignoring it. And that, I think that's what made it so relatable and fascinating and scary and grounded all at the same time. So it was really fun and scary to write all at the same time.
I think it points out a lot of what's going on there. As you talk, like I can literally hear like a supervillain being like, and we will listen to their devices, and when they say they need something, we will send them a Google ad for the exact thing.
Yes.
I think that was a James Bond movie.
Yeah,
there you go. But again, so I think, and again, I mean, I guess this is the place to go on big thesis or whatever. But I think that somewhere along the line, we've just sacrificed so much for convenience. People don't see that as intrusive; they see it as convenience. Someone has just given me an ad for the thing that I say that I wanted, right? But they're not asking about how they're listening, how much they're listening, what they're targeting.
Like you're looking at like dog videos pop up, and so like you pause on a golden retriever dog video, and next thing you know, you're getting 20 of these dog videos. There's nothing convenient about this. This is like So I think that there are some things, like certainly we've accepted Amazon.com and the convenience of having our toothbrush replacement come at 4 a.m. rather than go to a store. Like that's yes, and we're just like, and then we'll let this guy be one of the richest guys in the world. Like, yeah, he's a little Lex Luthery, but okay, go ahead. Wait, I need my toothbrush replacement. So like there's all of that, but like, yeah, I think it's more than convenience. I think we don't like to be in control. We like to be controlled, and I talked about that in mindset. I think at least most of us, I think maybe some people are built differently, but most people like the comfort of just being told what to do and just being guided and just being told what to watch and what to buy and where to go and what to do and group think and we all find comfort and convenience in that. And so maybe that's convenient to not have to think about what you want to do.
I think it's the weight of indecision or whatever.
Yeah.
Like this idea that
they welcome our new AI overlords.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the reasons I'm so excited about the book that's coming out in a minute here. The Smart Division, because it's me and John who did Mindset together coming together, and it's the same. It's the same themes 2.0, completely different story, completely different framework. But we thought we were being topical in 24, talking about the algorithms controlling us. What about the AI apps and what do we do and how much license are the AI apps giving us to just do whatever we want, to behave as badly as we want? And I feel like in the same way that there was a moment where the algorithm conversation became so poignant and then we completely forgot about it. And now we're just like, of course. I mean, I'm sure Gen Z and kids and stuff are just like, yeah, duh, of course that's what is going on. And we're like, no, there was a moment in time where we discovered this and where we reacted to it. We're reacting right now to, okay, there are these new apps that let you do whatever they kind of will tell you how to do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. And we're just kind of like, okay, all right, sure. All right.
Yeah, it's how quickly we rolled over.
We rolled over.
It's really, really interesting. I think that's also one of the soul crushing things about mindset is that Ben starts his journey with what seems like a genuine selfless altruism. Like he really wants to help people. He wants to cure them of their tech addiction, kind of.
Yes.
But there's no spot for him. There's no slot for selflessness in those worlds. Do you think that true altruism is actually compatible with our modern kind of tech-based landscape at the moment? Because it doesn't really feel like
no.
I feel like the system forces you to weaponize everything and commoditize everything.
I don't think altruism fits. I don't think altruism fits in technology. I don't think altruism fits in success. It's what Masterminds is all about. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think altruism fits in politics, I don't think altruism fits in power. Kill All Immortals is all about how altruism does not fit in power. Our morals, our ideals, always have to be compromised, modernized, acquiesced ever so slightly. And in moments that they don't, those are brief moments of victory for us, because the systems are all built to indulge human nature, which is inherently not that way. And I think the irony is most of us are altruistic and kind, but the systems are built to allow us not to be. And we are so complacent and prefer to be controlled that we indulge that without thinking, just like letting a river take us downstream, and we don't even bother to look at what's going on. And if you were to point out our mistakes, we would say, oh no, but then at the same time we're so small and powerless compared to these giant systems or these giant worlds, so what can we do? But that's where I get to write these stories about two types of characters. One types of characters who tragically learn the lesson the wrong way, or characters that manage to find a way around it all and manage to step up and be better people and at least inspire people who read those stories, maybe maybe you can find a way to be good. But no, I mean, Ben's story is not totally that. Ben's story is complicated for sure, and he ends sort of removing himself from the system, but at the same time not maintaining his ideals and morals purely. So
it's so strange because it feels like a double-edged sword, or just a tightrope that I guess humanity is walking. Because I don't think, while survival of the fittest is there, and is definitely a tenement of all this, we've gotten this far as pack animals. We've gotten this far as being a village and helping out one another. And it feels like you were saying before, that we have all these structures that are pulling us in different directions and they're not allowing that sort of community. You, as a comic book writer, you don't get where you're at without collaboration, without having people around you that help you and want to see your vision out. No man is an island, and yet we look at, like you were saying, a trillionaire, and we're like, wow, he just did it by himself. He got it, he picked up his bootstraps, and like, why can't we do that? Like, why can't? And I just feel like it's a false equivalency. I feel like we should be back to the civility conversation, right? We should be helping each other. If we are the most richest country in the world, or we are so far removed from the Neanderthal, then we should be putting our clubs down and stop hitting each other, and we should be helping each other a little bit more. But to watch sort of like Ben try to like navigate this soul crushing nature of the corporate schmoozing also got me. Like, I feel like there's a level of that. Is that something that you experienced or that you've seen? Because it feels very raw.
Oh yeah.
Idea of like everyone's using everyone, the anxiety around whose hand you have to shake and how to introduce yourself, and how that can just tank or raise you up completely.
I mean, I put that in Masterminds and Kill All Immortals too. I think in regards, I think that the world of business can be brutal at times, and most of life is business and sales at one way or another, and it's not. I mean, even comics, Yeah. Newsflash. even comics is not. A couple creatives got together and decided to make a book, and just it appears in your hands. There are corporations involved in all of these publishing entities and distributing entities, and there's all sorts of, there are contracts and deals and logistics and all sorts of these things. And so it is everywhere from Hollywood. I've had a lot of my books picked up for film and TV. Hollywood is full of this sort of behavior. I feel like every business aspect is, and you just have to accept it. I think one of the worst things you can do is enter a system and be naive about and think that system, or that any of these places a corporation is going to act moral. A corporation doesn't have any morals, So I think that can be a mistake. But yeah, I've experienced that a great deal, and I think I like to talk about the separation between systems and people, because I think they are very different. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to speak to Brian Michael Bendis, and he was talking about just how important having a good lawyer is in the creative space. And he's like, so many people would come up to me, other creators, and be like, I don't want to. And he's like, I understand that you're not in this world, but if you're going to start walking into boardrooms, if you're going to start, optioning some of your work, you need somebody on your side.
Yeah, you absolutely need a lawyer. You need a lawyer for any Hollywood deals for sure. And you need to know comic book contracts as a comic book creator. I mean, I negotiate most of my comic book contracts at this point, but I've learned so much over the last 10 years and over, more than a dozen contracts. And I even remember saying once to someone, who was representing the publisher, I was like, I said, you're delightful, and I trust you inherently, but I don't know that you'll be there, in the future. And I'm actually, this negotiation is between me and a corporation. And so I just have to look out for myself and my best interests. And so it's just a reality, but I think, it's the best way to handle any of that stuff is understanding that. I think not having enough ideals and morals can be a problem. And I think sometimes I like looking at characters that have too many ideals or too many morals. I think that can be a
Yeah.
problem as well. I
Yeah.
think Ryder in Only the Savage Are Left is a great example of someone that's starting in such a moral place. He's literally removed himself from the world for 5 years.
Hmm.
So while we want to see him preserve his good nature and his kind of the respect to try to not be violent, we also know that he can't stay that he can't be 100% purist forever. He's got to find the balance. Yeah.
That high horse is pretty high.
The high horse is high. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I I can feel these sort of themes coming out in your work, and even with like what we were talking about Masterminds, I remember reading it, loved it, but being like, this Edward Hale, he's in it to win it, like he's in this game, and I think that that's a important character choice because it just screams of the desperation he has to get a leg up in a world that won't give him a hand. And I feel like a lot of us are in that sort of position.
Yeah.
I think that's how you get successes of things like I don't know why I'm blanking on it now. The one where everyone's playing a game to win money.
Squid Games.
Squid Games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Squid Games. You start that off in the beginning going, well, everyone should quit. This is a terrible game. Like your
Yeah.
life's on the line. And then as the game continues, you're like, but that's a lot of money though.
Masterminds, that character, if people aren't familiar with Masterminds, it's about a young programmer who gets invited. He's smart enough, he solves an entry puzzle, and he gets invited to join one of the smartest secret societies in the world. They'll help him achieve success by his wildest dreams. He just has to win a night of games, riddles, and puzzles, very much like Squid Games, but in the real world. And he's very much challenged about what his definitions of success are, and how far he's willing to go. And he wants to be, a AAA video game designer and make big video games. And there's at one point where someone says, are you just trying to, do you want to make this so that you can make it, or do you want to make this to get ahead? But I think for him and for many people, there's no difference. There's no difference between the endeavor and the reach. That they're equivalent, and sometimes you can't succeed without having that scale or that scope or that reach of whatever you're trying to do. You can't say I want to be a basketball player and say, well, isn't a little league or a little this player, coach or whatever enough? It's like, no, the dream is the NBA, or the dream is this and that. And so the scale to a dream matters, and it requires winning, and it requires sometimes a path towards success that is not what we're told in kindergarten. So Edward Hale is not a hero per se, but we're rooting for him anyway, because as much as we feel that he's flawed and complicated and willing to do dark things that we don't approve of, we also know that he's fighting against a system that's even worse. And so as we're like, I don't want to see you fall in all this. And I don't know that I 100% would want to be you, but at the same time, I also know what you're fighting against, and I don't approve of that either. So I like that. It's complicated. It's the same kind of complexity that mindset explores. And I would say the same, the smart division that we have coming up, same kind of complexity that story explores as well.
I felt like the line that really lingered to me was, "What's so wrong with wanting to be a winner in life?" Because I feel like it's reasonable, it's relatable on the face of it.
Yeah.
But if you continue that question, if you ask that question at every level that you reach, eventually you start creating some losers. Eventually you start hurting and harming some people, right? That's why I love this idea of the game, because I think we're all sort of playing a game. I served in the military. I did 4.5 years in the military, and they come up to you and they say, "Hey, do you want to re-enlist?" And I had a serious come to Jesus moment where I'm like, to re-enlist is to actively say I want to play this game. Is to actively say that I'm being locked into a contract where the people that I talk to will influence my trajectory, the people I hang around with will introduce my trajectory, how I hold myself, all those things. I have to play the game that I've come into a game already being played, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I have to sort of make that decision. Did you ever reach a crossroads in your own career, whether it be screenwriting or comic writing, where you sort of have this similar moment?
I'm just in the river.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just in the river, letting it take me where it takes me.
yeah, man.
You know, there's all sorts of things I love about being a comic creator, and there's all sorts of things I don't.
Hmm.
And you know, I love making comics, and I'm very fortunate to be able to make the comics that I make. And I've had some fantastic collaborators, and my books continue to be received very well. It feels like each year is a better year, and so
Yeah,
I'll be grateful for all those things, and I'll just learn to accept the system that I'm in, and for all its many flaws, more and more. And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's all I can do. I try to reduce my own morals and high horse and ideals, and accept the nature of things, so that I can do what I do love, which is tell stories that make people think.
yeah. I think that I don't know what trade-offs have happened, but to have these books actually be tangible, to have people read these books and ask the questions of not only society but their own sort of journey in this life is a bit of altruism, is a bit of,
Thank you.
giving back in a way. So regardless of where you've come on your journey, I appreciate that you've been able to inject the medium with
Thank you.
this sort of these sort of questions, because as you say again, I think we've rolled over in a lot of ways and the questions have sort of dissipated in regards to where we're going. We all feel like we've got there, and it's like we've got a long way to go with this whole society humanity thing, man. We've got places to go. So
Yeah,
I definitely appreciate it.
for sure. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's I'm most excited. Uh, Smart Division hits in a little bit here. I think in a week or so, and I think, like, for me, that one feels, you know, Masterminds is about our relationship with success. Mindset was about our
Hmm.
relationship with um, our phones and our technology, and I guess, how technology affects us. Um, and only the savage being kind of in this of my latest work dealing with this stuff is kind of about, our relationship with the monsters in the world. But, you know taking a crime thriller, I don't know if people are not familiar. The Smart Division is like, what if people could use an app to commit the perfect crimes, and a Chat GPT style app, and it follows two FBI agents who come together to hunt a killer using one of these apps. But it is very much about, I mean, we set that 5 minutes in the future. That is our world today. It
Yeah.
is in institutions that are crumbling. It is in a world where you question whether law enforcement is up to the task, as a system,
Yeah.
and the FBI and all that, and the characters that are in this are kind of saying, like, we feel like we're losing right now. Now you're telling us we have to deal with the perfect AI crime app, and so it very much is this kind of question of, like, what is our place, our choice in this moment with AI? Because I can't think of a bigger moment, and I think that there's such an easy path to just give up and acquiesce and just say, well, let's just see where this takes us, and what are we to do. The whole story is not, it's framed in this mystery, killer, very true detective sort of story about, a killer and the murder. The whole thing is framed between these two agents having this debate about what do we do when we're confronted with these questions and these agencies. And the older characters saying, I've been in the system for 20 years. I've watched it decay. I've watched what's happening. We're helpless, man. There's helpless. There's nothing we can do about this. AI is coming. This is all happening. we can't stop this. We can't do anything about this. And this young Gen Z detective is basically saying, like, so we give up. Like, what are we talking about here? We've got, this is our world. If we have better change, and we better adapt, and we better fight for this and do whatever it takes. And so I just think it's a really important question to kind of explore. And so we're using this edgy crime thriller to kind of, again, look at this question to readers about, like, okay, we've talked about mind control, we've talked about success, we've talked about savagery, but what are we going to do about AI and not sentient AI? I feel like everyone's like, what happens when AI becomes sentient? It's like, what about what happens when AI lets people do bad things, which is going to happen next? Like,
it doesn't need its own mind to do bad things.
No,
regular human
just needs to tell us how to do it.
Yeah, it just tells us how to do them. What do we do about that? And you might go, well, ChatGPT has barriers and roadblocks. Yes, however, you can go download tons of, they're called LLMs, large language models. And while Gemini and ChatGPT are and Claude, and these are the glossy ones in front of the store, if you go deeper into the store being a metaphor for where you get these things, you can download the ones without the barriers. They're online right now, and it's only a matter of time before that becomes more prevalent. And this is coming. So, I am hoping to provoke more people with kind of a, what do we do about this one too? And maybe people will wake up. Maybe we won't.
It does feel like
for me.
Huh?
Oh yeah,
It worked for me. I read Smart Division and I really liked it. And George has heard me rant a few times. I have to deal with AI in my day job, both us using it and both. Well, I work in health insurance, so AI underwriting, AI claims processing, and then AI research assistant. So I have to deal with it, and it's useful to a point, and then there's a point where you're just like, okay, cool, you're just doing it all for me. What am I here for?
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah,
and in Smart Division, I'm reading it, going, okay, so this is kind of the same thing. Cool. So I want to kill somebody and get away with it. Tell me how.
Yeah, it's scary, and I think it's scary because it has a negative effect in two folds. One, it makes people who are willing to use it freely less willing to make their own decisions and their own judgments. So they become more complacent and more just like whatever. And then the people who are resistant, maybe the people like you and I, Frank, who are like, wait, I don't want to have to use this, but it makes us feel more like we're removed from a system that's evolving. It's like, but this is coming. And so what we're supposed to give up, we're supposed to do what? Like, what do you do? This is like saying no to smartphones. Like, it's like, it's coming. So I don't want to do this, but this is everything is going this way. So it's scary. It's, another thing, this is kind of got John Pearson, who's such an amazing artist, the Eisner winning artist, art and mindset, absolutely gorgeous. And in the Smart Division, he's just showing off with these layouts. It's just so, and each issue, I mean, he's working on issues 2 and 3, and it's just amazing. He's rooted in horror. He loves horror stories. And so the amount of dread and suspense that this series starts to drip with is so cool. But that is the thing, because I remember when I first started researching this idea, and there was a moment where I thought this app in the story, the perfect crime app, would come from like the lab that Elon or Tesla or Google, or like it would come from like a tech company lab.
Yeah.
And then I researched it, and the truth is so much scarier because actually we are all, it's not just the tech companies that are building and improving AI. It's universities working on projects. It's little startups. It's guys in their garage and guys in China. and they're downloading these apps. They make a few tweaks and they upload it, and then someone else downloads it and improves it and uploads it, and so we're all bees. We're all bees all around the world working on this thing, and no one is driving it. So we're doing this to ourselves as a species. It's not like one evil mustache twirling guy or company that's like making AI. It's in our nature. You couldn't stop this. Like if we tried, it's in our nature that we're doing this. And so it's scary. It's a horror idea, but it's happening. And so it's really provocative to write like, okay, so in all sincerity, how should we go day to day about feeling about this, and what should our response be? And so I'm really excited to provoke. And I'm sure some people are so fed up and frustrated with AI that they're like, I can't even read anything about AI right now. But I genuinely feel that this series will be exciting in the way in which we approach it, because it's really not it's not alone about AI. It's really kind of more about our relationship with our systems and our institutions, and how do we feel about the future just in general.
AI is more the springboard and kind of the villain. By the way, I don't want to spoil it here since the book's not out. Awesome name for the villain app. What I assume is the villain app.
Yep, that is right.
That is a fantastic name.
Thank you.
I think the word that comes across my mind, you just hearing you talk about AI, is it's a bit insidious, like in the sense that it's a seed planted, and it just grows slowly. And I feel like even when you start seeing, like, it just came out maybe like 2 days ago that George Lucas was like, yeah, it's here. We got to kind of deal with it. Kind of got to roll with the punches. And watching people sort of walk on eggshells around the conversation about it. Martin Scorsese signed up with an AI company to help do something of sorts. So people don't want to miss the boat. There's that FOMO that goes on too. It's like, oh yeah, screw AI. And then people are posting AI photos of themselves in the most glamorous, Spider-Man outfit. And people are like, I want that. I want to be a part in that and about that, and not realizing what parts of themselves they're selling in an effort to continue, being a part of something like that.
Yeah, it's an issue.
But I feel
it's a problem.
I feel like though, with the AI or with a lot of this stuff, it feels like another recurring sort of undercurrent in some of the work is this profound sense that the old rules are just broken. They're gone. They're broken. They're gone. No one's playing by them. That's worth a damn. Especially the ones that I grew up with that I had to find out the hard way. Work hard, follow the rules, be a decent person.
Yes.
Like that, all that stuff seems to be out the window. I thought, if I signed up for my country, I'd be set for life, right? I gave my body, my mind, and all that stuff.
You should be. And thank you for your service. You should be. And that's an ideal that we all talk about. Mm-hmm. And I can't for the life of me understand why that is not the reality, but it's not the reality. I'm sure that's a whole different podcast. But we look, with law enforcement, the rules are all broken. How we fight crime, how we train officers of all kinds, detectives, the work that they do, the way the legal system's used. There are so many flaws in all of this, but it's not being fixed or rectified fast enough. And so you have people in those systems who feel like they are up against it, and AI couldn't be coming at a worse time. I feel, and technology coming at a worse time. So I very much, I think at the end of the day, I am frustrated. I write out of a sense of frustration, but also out of a sense of my own feeling of helplessness and not knowing what can be done. And so all I can do is satirize and, share these observations with other people in the world and kind of say, you guys are seeing this too. And hopefully there are smarter, better positioned people out there in the world who can make change, younger people who can do something better about these things. Or at the very least, someone can wake up one morning and say, I have a perspective that I think is going to make my life better for a week because that got me thinking. And maybe it's a struggle of inches and not a struggle of yards. So, but yeah, I write from frustration on a lot of these things for sure.
I will say though, I don't think any of it's heavy-handed. I don't think
Thank
you're lecturing anyone or trying to, go above and beyond to have these messages stick. And for those who may have not been familiar with your work, I think it's sleek. I think it's cool.
Thank you.
I think I do think it has a useful energy to it. I think
Thank
a
you.
lot of your books are cinematic. And I enjoy them on that level, but I also feel like with a little shovel, right? A little shovel in certain places.
We've spent a lot of time talking about themes and about like deep stuff. But actually, I mean, at the end of the day, like I consider myself a concept guy. Like, like I come up with concepts. I come up with like, virus, but you can save yourself, or aliens come in a business deal, or a mind control app, or all sorts of stuff like this. Join the Future's what if small towns were all but extinct? So it's like it's always built on a what if first, on a concept first. But I do like to try to have characters that inspire us or at least make us think. Yeah.
I could definitely dig that.
Thank you.
With Kill All Immortals, loved it, by the way. Especially all the bloody stuff. It's like, I'm looking at some of these scenes and I'm like, but I think what's the most interesting thing about it to me is that it had to have been incredibly hard to create stakes in a story where the main characters can't die, but you do that with tension. You shift the battlefield from like physical survival to family legacy, betrayal, personal autonomy. Like those things are bigger in scope than just life or death, it feels like.
Yeah.
How did you approach like building that tension? You must have known early on that was a bit of the
for sure. So
gimmick, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, for people not Kill All Immortals is a family of Vikings, and 1,000 years ago they discovered a secret form of immortality, and then 1,000 years later they're this billionaire banking empire, and the only daughter finally wants out. So it's HBO's Succession meets John Wick with Vikings, and we've done 2 arcs of this story, and we've got our 3rd arc coming out in October. It's a series finale. It's going to be so good. So the first volume is very much about Frey, our heroine, against her family and against her father, who's this bloodthirsty barbaric billionaire. And then the 2nd arc, we discover that they're not alone. There are other immortals. It's very much about them versus a rival family. The 3rd arc is basically them against the whole world of immortals. And so it continues to expand, but it is very much a challenge because you have immortals fighting. So how do you worry about what's going to happen if they're immortal? So in the first volume, it very much was, it's not really about who lives or dies as much as power. They're fighting for a tremendous amount of power, and you can feel they're fighting for the fate of the family, which is hugely influential to the well-being of many people around the world. I mean, this is a billionaire empire that's affecting a lot of people, and it's currently being run by a very barbaric man who's willing to do whatever it takes for his own power and wealth. And here comes his daughter wanting to change that again, wanting to change the system. So even though she might face off against one of her brothers and they're both immortal, and someone's going to get back up after that fight, but you also know that they're fighting to see who can get closer towards changing the family. So it really had to be about having the power be important. If anyone's read the first arc, we found a very fun solution to making the stakes in the second arc. I don't want to give too much away, but the world changes basically in ways in which suddenly life and death is on the line, and that makes it a lot easier to kind of go, we really are paying attention to what's happening, and that sort of dynamic continues. But yeah, that was initially okay, I've got immortals fighting immortals. What's this? And there was like a moment where it's like, I hope this works. I hope this works because it's not boring, where people are just who cares? They're just immortals fighting immortals. But no, I think by infusing a character that we really care about, and she's very relatable, and she has very, important ideals, and you want to see her win. That's enough of the stakes. And then adding this complexity too, where she can win, but now there's also something else at stake. If she wins, she might have to succumb to being a barbaric Viking like her family in order to win. She might have to give up her own ideals and morals, and you don't want to see that happen either. So you find that she's walking this tightrope between who she wants to be and what she wants to achieve, and she can't really have both, and she's trying. That complexity makes it all the more kind of tense, and so yeah, it required some story dynamics for sure. But it doesn't hurt that I've got Fico Ossio on the first 2 volumes, just drawing beautiful fights, and Jago Rocha coloring it. And then we have Francisco Mortarino, who's a really amazing Marvel artist who's done X-Men and a bunch of great stuff over there. So I'm very excited to have him for the 3rd arc. Yeah. So yeah, it helps to have fun, bloody, violent fights in breathtaking locales, and that makes that. But yeah, we put a lot of thought into the story tensions for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of what makes it unique. I've always been interested in the idea of immortality, more so about like the sliding scale of morality. Because if you live long enough to see stuff play out, you can justify a lot of
sure can
stuff there. Do you think the concept of good and evil kind of gets eroded with time?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think we feel smaller the older we get. And I think immortality probably gives that feeling a whole lot more emphasis. So I think, when you're 16, you feel like you can change the world. You can do anything. You can be anything. When you get into your 30s, 40s, 50s, you start to kind of feel like the world's at a lot of swings. There's a lot going on. I'm just one person. And, I think immortality, that's, Frey is an interesting character to start, because she's seen 1,000 years of this. So when you think about that, you think, of course, she's just given up and removed herself. I mean, how do you stop? She's in a family of immortals. They can't be killed, and they just keep killing people and taking over and just ruling. What can she do about it? She can't do anything about it. So yeah, I think time is not an advantage to solving problems. I think we fall into that trap. That I think pragmatism can be a problem. So I think urgency is great. You get a lot done when you have to get it done. So I think in terms of society problems, or just day to day, just life, if it's urgent, it gets done.
Yeah, I can even see, like, when with the stuff you were talking about before with Gen Z and stuff, it's easy for our generation to like look at the world and spend way too much time mourning what we've lost. If Gen Z is already born in this apocalypse, there's nothing to mourn. They have old stories about what's happened, but they want that urgency. So what are we going to do about this? Where most other people might be checked out because they're like, well, it's never going to be as good as it was. It's like, well, how do we move any of this along? We can't kind of sit on our couches and just kind of like be passive in those regards. So seeing Frey like take her mentality of how the world should be working into her own hands, and even fighting off against the people closest to her, the people who know her more than anybody else, that's not an easy choice for her to make. And even when faced, no spoilers, with the choice of just letting a regular person kind of out the family, she makes a very interesting choice in that regard. And I think that's layers and layers of what we know we should do versus who we know. Sometimes that gets a little bit tangled in.
I like writing complex characters. I like characters that you don't know what they're gonna do, and they throw you some curveballs here or there, and stories that kind of make you go, oh. And then you kind of go, yeah, that actually makes total sense. It makes total sense that she did that. but that surprised you. I like surprises. I like to keep readers feeling on their toes. But I come back to writing a lot about characters who are discovering their agency or asking, like, I'm being confronted with an urgent moment, and what are they going to do about it? And perhaps that yields great results. I mean, I think that's what Only the Savage and Smart Division, and all of these books explore characters being thrust into very urgent situations and having to decide, okay, what am I going to do about this, and what's my place in the world, and hopefully finding a better place in the world for themselves.
What bit about Freya is the most like you? You
Man,
guys
not
have any?
much.
No, no. Was it harder to write than a character that you don't necessarily see eye to eye with, but who might be a little bit different than you?
Oh man, no, it's not. It's super easy because writing characters that are different than you is super easy because it's all wish
Okay.
fulfillment. Oh,
Okay.
it's all
Okay.
wish fulfillment. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all like what I wish I would could do.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, that's. I think she has good intentions, and I have good intentions. I think I can come back to that place where she just wants to do good. She wants to be a good person, and I can relate to that. And I think that's me, willing to go pick every fight necessary. Uh, Probably not me. And the badassery that she has, and the fearlessness that she has, and the uh, uncompromising nature that she approaches the world with at times. Not me. I'm far more pragmatic than she is, to my detriment and to the world's detriment. And we need more people like Frey who just learn not to give a shit and just go in and maul down everybody in their way.
Get your hands dirty, man. Get your
She
hands
gets
dirty.
she gets very dirty.
Frank.
So with again, not trying to spoil anything for the people who haven't read it. The immortal families are, recognizable names if you know anything about any kind of history. So
That's right.
how'd you decide on those ones?
Well, we start with Vikings. Um, um, I guess a spoiler alert on a couple of these. If you want, if you're listening and you don't want to be spoiled, then mute this or fast forward or
Yeah,
duck
fingers in
out.
your
But
ears, guys.
yeah,
Earmuffs.
this is the first one. Is the first is Eric the Red.
Hmm.
And I picked Vikings. I think picking Vikings was more of a bigger choice because I thought it really went well with capitalism and business and billionaire culture. This kind of like take what you want, the freedom to
Pillage. Yeah.
the freedom to pillage. That so like, and there was a moment where it wasn't Vikings; it was just an immortal family, and it was like, where are they from? And knowing that I wanted to use immortality as a metaphor for billionaires, Vikings just was perfect. So they became Vikings as they looked to face their rivals in season 2. Spoiler alert: they faced Genghis Khan and Khan's family. I just couldn't think of a better antagonist that represented expansion and dominance
Yeah.
than him. And Genghis Khan had such an interesting legacy of family, given that he had so many children. And I thought that was really a fascinating way to put two families against each other, because the Vikings, despite all their flaws, this group of kids, I guess they're kids, they fight together. Despite
Yeah.
the father is barbaric in the first volume, the kids are pitted against each other. They come together, and the Khan kids are forced together, and so it creates an interesting kind of dichotomy between family. The third one, I can't spoil it, but they go up against many different immortal families, and we've got some fantastic characters that emerge from history. But I think, and I think if you've read this full second season, there is a tease at the very end of that. But I think the whole idea was, this is a story about power, and what better way to represent power than with iconic warlords and power players from history that kind of represent these old archaic sort of domination methods and worldviews that feel like they belong yet shouldn't belong in our modern era. So Frey becomes sort of a weapon, not just against billionaires and a patriarchy and a institution of power, but against the past and against the need for change.
Yeah. I remember I got to that page turn and I'm like, of course this Genghis Khan. Like it's one of those things that a comedian says, like you hear a joke and you're like, of course, like that was like it should have been like that was freaking teed up. So, I think he did very well in those regards there.
He was great. He was one of my favorite characters to write and he's tough. He's a tough adversary, and it was really fun to set up an adversary that you're just like, how is she gonna beat this guy? Like this guy's
there's
monster.
There's no gray area to him.
He's great.
And it felt very much like when you go from alien to aliens, like just like you're in this world with the Vikings, and you're like, oh damn, that's a lot of drama, that's a lot of blood, that's a lot of fighting, and then you expand, and you're like, oh damn, this might be way too much. So I'm very excited to see what the third.
Yeah, we're leaving it all. It's great. It's great writing a third arc knowing it's the end. It's like this is the end. We're gonna stick the landing. It's gonna be absolutely fantastic. If you haven't read this, we're gonna make you want to read it. This fall you're gonna have to go pick up volume 1 and volume 2 and catch up, because we get to write it with consequence. We get to write it and not have to worry about leaving the doors open or anything like that. Like this is the culmination of it. It was round 1, it's her versus her family. Round 2, it's family versus family. Round 3, she's going to take on the whole world. And it's great. It's great. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing more fun than getting to expand your sandbox all the way, to the max.
And also the marquee doesn't say kill a immortal. It doesn't say kill some. Immortals.
No, kill them all. Kill them all.
So yeah, super excited about that. And the thing is, like, you write this epic saga where characters can live forever, but I know as a screenwriter, you've experienced the exact opposite. You've seen so many projects die by the wayside. How do you cope with the existence of like this invisible creative graveyard that exists where so many people's dreams and stories will never see the light of day? How do you balance that with what you're doing now, where you can actually present these stories that you care about?
From before, when I would write spec scripts or things like that, you're saying, this is one of the reasons I fell in love with comics and switched. So I graduated film school. I got my master's from USC in film and TV writing, and I spent a good decade writing spec scripts. If people don't know, there's a script you write purely for free, then you go take it out into the world and see if you can get it made. And I wrote many that entered development, got some money, little money here, a little money there, or this person's attached. Oh, they're not attached. This producer's attached, and they're not attached, and all sorts of that stuff. But nothing ever got made. And so you're right. A lot of those stories are I don't consider them dead, but they never got seen.
Frozen?
I don't know. They're just there. They're just there.
Untold.
They're I told them no one got to experience it, but that's what I loved about comics. Comics gave me an opportunity to share stories with readers and have this direct connection where I get to engage with readers and that the community. Not just a community of creators, but the community of creators and readers. The direct interaction is really so phenomenal, where you can go to a convention and you can be a reader and you can actually talk to a creator that you love and say, can I ask you a question about your story, or many questions about, and so that doesn't happen. I mean, TV and film, the writers don't really get to have that experience. So yeah, it's great. That's one of the reasons I love writing comics, and I'm grateful for it.
I think comics are grateful to have you. I think
Thank
what you're
you.
presenting here is super, super cool.
Thank
And
you.
it's funny that you talk about like being able to have that interaction connection because I've also read that you used to be a trailer surveyor, a movie trailer surveyor.
What was it? What did you read about?
I read that you used to be a movie trailer surveyor, like watch
Oh,
movie trailers
that's true.
for a thing. And so
George, you did your research. You did your
hey, it's
research.
a major discourse. We're trying to stick to that.
That is perhaps the deepest deep cut I think I've gotten in a podcast interview. Yes. It's so deep that I even forgot that I had done this job.
I'm like, wait a minute, did I get something wrong? I'm like,
No, I did do this job. I worked for, this is an old job. I don't even think, if this job still exists anymore, I'd be shocked.
yeah,
I work for a company, I don't know, maybe for 3 or 6 months, and they
okay,
would send me to the movie theater, and I would go in. I can't remember how they let me in. Uh, I don't know why they let me in because I was with this company. And I know that part, but I would go in and watch the trailers, only the trailers. From theater to theater, I'd watch trailers for like, I'd watch every trailer. And I had a little thing, and I would mark, so precise and scientific. I would mark the reaction of the audience. If the audience's reaction was great, good, so bad, or not good. I mean, at like 2 p.m. on a Thursday, you've got 30 people in the audience or something like that, and it's dark. And yet I was able to scientifically discern exactly how they
right,
felt. And this was data that was then sold to the studios to let them know how their trailers had done.
yeah.
And they go, oh, well, this trailer's doing great because Zack Kaplan saw some people chuckle. But that was my job. I did do that. I did do that job a long time ago. I guess surveyed yes,
Movie
I did
trailers.
movie trailers. That cannot be a job anymore. That job was that must be done by AI now,
Yeah,
or something better than that. I can't even believe that there was someone that thought we need to know how these trailers are doing, but let's
yeah.
just send someone in,
Send
and
the dude.
then they'll in the dark they'll be able to tell from how many times someone reached in to eat popcorn during that trailer if they were engaged or not,
Yeah. It's interesting
ridiculous.
because while you did it for such a short time, it can't have had no effect on how you view the product that you're selling, right? Because you sell a product, you sell a book, you sell a story, you sell an issue, and you need to know how the audience will have to react at a certain point.
I mean, I felt all sorts. I did coverage. I did film and TV coverage for years, reading scripts and covering scripts. Uh, I worked actually even before that in voiceover. I was at a voiceover agency. I worked with the movie
Wow.
trailer guy. He would do the voiceover. I've had all sorts of different things
That's so
that
cool.
fill into my thing. But I have always um just baked into my DNA, always understood that stories are also about selling the story to the reader. You're also selling the reader on what makes the story great. In any regard, you cannot have it be, even if it's an abstract surrealist story, you have to sell it because it's abstract and surrealist. If it's avant-garde, you have to sell it because it's avant-garde. Like, when people say they want to watch an A24 movie, there's something off. They're tapping into that authenticity and that weirdness and that uniqueness. So you have to sell that. So I don't think that I learned that from 6 months of watching people eat popcorn and determine their reactions. I think that's just who I am in terms of understanding that, right. I'm a writer, and I focus on how to be a writer, but and maybe this is one of the reasons I felt comfortable gravitating towards comics. I also understand the basic premise of how to sell or talk about a story. And I think that helps a comic creator a great deal.
Yeah, I know plethora of comic creators that's like they can imagine the worlds, create the characters. It's that part that's a little bit
Yeah.
hard. But if you don't have the battery in your own back for your own work,
They're just different skills. Yeah, they're just different skills. Yeah.
100%. Are you still teaching?
I do. I teach. I've taught for 2 years now at LMU, which is a university here in California. I've taught a university course on writing comics and graphic novels. So it's been a lot of fun.
What would you say is like the hardest thing to teach a young writer? Are you seeing little Zacks in the in the classroom?
I hope so. I hope so. I cannot. I mean, these are young people that are just graduating 1 year ago or this year. So I've just started. I cannot wait. I would love to see some of my students go on to be successful comic book creators. Nothing would give me more joy. I think the thing you can't teach is the amount of time that is necessary to build a writing career. That you can't teach that. There's this urgency, as we talked about, for young people, and which is good. It's good to feel urgent, but it takes time. It takes a lot of time to build a career and to build a not just the skills to be a great storyteller, but to just overcome the system that they're facing.
Everyone's journey is unique, but what do you think it was that kept you on this road? Considering, like I said, sometimes the world is antagonistic.
Delusion.
I love it. Screw it.
You gotta be a little delusional. No, I don't know. I'm a very determined person, and I like to work hard and yeah, I don't know. I love storytelling. I love the engagement of with other people of sharing these stories, and I don't know what else I do, but I enjoy it. I haven't figured out what's kept me on this journey yet. So
yeah, I mean, I've always believed that some creatives are just born to create. If they had $1 million, they would still be writing. They would still be drawing. They would still be crafting with clay or whatever kind of drives them.
Give me the $1 million. I'll let me figure that out.
Yeah, there you go. You might have to play some games to get there.
I like to let me just hold $1 million and I'll let you know. Yeah.
As we wind this up, Frank.
Well, just because, I think we've got a pretty good idea of like how you see the world, and how you throw yourself into your work and just kind of your worldview. What do you do for, I guess we'll call it fun, since this is your job, to keep yourself from going completely crazy?
I got a family. I spend a lot of time with the family, and the family keeps me young. Kids keep me young. And besides that, I love playing poker. I play poker often. I got a deuce and a 7. If you don't play poker, a deuce and 7 is the worst hand in poker. So I got that to remind me to take risks in life and to be reckless and to do urgent things, because I don't do those things in my life. I'm careful and methodical and strategic and playing poker, you don't have to be. So I like to play cards, and I can be reckless, and I can play deuce 7, and I can lose $50, and it's not a big deal. So I enjoy that, and anytime I can see a good movie or a good TV show or play a fun video game or read a great comic, that's a great day.
Yeah, I think it's fun really watching this whole youth movement of urgency also taking place in film. Seeing a bunch of these younger writers, younger directors and stuff really risking it. And similar to, I think sometimes what happens with comic writers, I feel like you make the books that you want to see on the shows. And I think vice versa, or in that same line, I think these younger directors are making the movies that they would want to see, as opposed to being the old guard saying, I wonder what those people want down there. I have no idea. Let's bring back, that show from the 80s or whatever.
I have met many, many, many people, hundreds and hundreds of people in the entertainment industry, and movies and television. I've gone on easily over 100, 200 general meetings, meeting people,
Whoa.
and and all these people. At its core, there are two types of people in this game. There are people that try to figure out what other people want to see, and there are people that try to figure out what they want to see. And I want to work with the people who want to do what they want to see. So there's nothing more refreshing than having someone say, this is the story I want to tell. And there's nothing more terrible than having someone say, I just feel like that person in Ohio or that person in Florida wants a story like this. It's like, but what do you want? So it is very refreshing to see some of these new movies these days succeeding. And I think comics has had some of that too. And I hope that we continue to see across any story platform, see passionate storytellers succeed. Yeah.
It's been really cool to hear your story. And again,
thank you guys.
I'm super excited about the future, not only the miniseries that you're creating, but the sequelization of stuff like Kill All Immortals. It's got to be fun to come back to a world that you created, especially like you said, when you're ready to blow it up.
It is
that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
I feel like you genuinely imbue a kinetic energy with yourself that is apparent in your work. You can just feel it. Like I said, it feels cool, feels slick, it feels smart. I don't ever feel dumb taking it in. And then there's layers of heart because like you said again, these characters are regular people trying to navigate a world that seems broken, and I think that's something a lot of people today can relate to. And so, while not necessarily building a how to live guide with some of these books, you can't help but put yourself in those positions and go, well, if I was in that person's shoes, I would try my best to be a good human being. And maybe that's what everyone needs to know. They need to take away from a lot of this work. I think comics is a medium like no other. And I think that to me, the spark in it is that while people can be incredibly inspired by the aspirational stories and characters that exist, they are written by people who live in the same kind of crappy world that I do. So it's not mythical people writing about a mythical place and saying, oh, everything is sunshine and rainbows. But it's the people who, I got to get up today. You know what I'm saying? I've got to write that story. I've got to get that spec script out. I have to, finish up this volume, and still being able to imbue a sense of optimism, a sense of, the fight's not over. Get up. You understand? Like we still got more rounds to be in this, is something that I think this medium needs, and something that I think your books kind of do effortlessly. And whether or not, it's funny that on this journey of writing the books, you want how helpful they can be to other people, and how they can, in a world where we're constantly being divided for monetary reasons. I feel like comic books are very community based, and you can, even though you're taking them on in a very solitary way, you're reading them to yourself. You can read them in just like a really, really good song. You're like, they're talking about me.
Yeah.
Like this person's talking about me. This person's got my story, and they've nailed it. So all the success you've gotten up until, obviously an overnight success, just happened like that.
Right.
And so super glad you decided to get into this medium, and then just the next day, you got all these offers and all these sequels and all this stuff. But no, it takes hard work. It takes
urgent, immediate.
Yes.
Yeah, right? It takes hard work. It takes discipline. It takes passion, and it takes the ability to see a future that other people don't. And so I'm glad that you were imbued with that at some point, and that you used that to continue to make great art. We got Smart Division coming up in August. I want to say it's August 5th or 6th.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That sounds right. Yep.
August 5th. Only the Savage Are Left issue 2 comes out at the end of this month, I believe.
That's right. The 22nd.
29th, it got bumped 1 week for some
okay.
reason. I don't know why. 29th, it comes out. Yes, that's right. And then Kill
yeah.
All Immortals is out October 5th.
Yes,
right,
we might need to get you to swing back around for that.
All
Talk
right.
about Kill All Immortals when we're all chock full of everything that
sure
those first two volumes have. But yeah, thank you for being so candid with your story and with your point of view on life and all that stuff. I feel like pours into these pages. It's palpable, and it's something that makes people return to the work that you do. Thank you,
George. Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us your time and giving us so many cool books to read.
Thank you.
But as we like to end these, on behalf of everyone involved, we like to remind our audience to always remember, and this is poignant because of the Norse people in Kill All Immortals. I'd like to remind all you people to remember that you, yes, you are worthy. Thank you, everyone.